Hey everyone, welcome on into AZ Audibles. I'm Sandy Charles, and I'm joined by Devin Henry and Eric Sorensen. Gentlemen, championship week is here. We made it. Cannot wait to break down these teams. First, let's start with the Open. It is going to be, like we thought, Chandler and Hamilton. Devin, we'll start with you this week.
Well, first of all, of course, this game, I think this is what everyone kind of expected, but it almost wasn't. Chandler going to overtime. How many times do we hear that? That was not the game that I was expecting against the Liberty Lions. Chandler destroyed Liberty in week one of the season, rematching in the Open semifinal, and the Liberty defense stepped up. I don't think I've seen Chandler punt that much in a very, very long time. And Liberty took the game to them, and head coach Colin Thomas went for it all in overtime, much like they did against Centennial as well with that 2-point conversion. But looking ahead to this game, Hamilton versus Chandler, I think it's an easy kind of preview. You have to stop Eli Sanders, right? The only guy on the field to go over 100 yards besides Keon Graves. But Sanders over 150 yards rushing. Meanwhile, no one on Hamilton's side picked up over 100 yards in that game a few weeks ago. You got to stop Eli Sanders if you're Hamilton if you want to win this game.
Yeah, Devin, to Liberty's credit, almost beating Chandler when I caught up with Saguaro's head coach, Jason Mons, he told me, he said, Liberty has the advantage because they lost the first time. So they were the ones at advantage because they can make the adjustments. They've already seen kind of what Chandler's going to throw at them. So they did fight really hard, but the king of the mountain is still Chandler. That is going to be a great matchup. They were without Keon Graves against Liberty as well. So how much did that affect Chandler? Is Keon going to be back for the Open Championship? Because he's such a difference maker. Eric, what do you think?
Well, first off, congratulations to the Wolves. I mean, to make it to a state championship 5 consecutive seasons is just an incredible accomplishment, especially considering they're always the ones with the target on their back. Yes, they're the most talented team in Arizona, but to have to go out and perform week in and week out, and they can now sort of hit the reset button and get ready for Hamilton. There's not going to be any extra motivation needed. Number one, you're playing for a gold ball. And number two, oh, by the way, you're playing your rivals for a chance to get the 6th championship in a row. So congratulations to Coach Garrettson and that entire team. They played shorthanded at wide receiver, as you mentioned. Also, I guess they had a couple players in their secondary that did not play. But flipping it over to Liberty, the job Colin Thomas and that staff did is amazing. I mean, the Lions lost over 40 seniors from last year's 6A title game. They dropped 34 points on Chandler. The only other team that came even remotely close to scoring that many points against Chandler was Highland when they scored 19. So really, really good year for Liberty. And maybe they exposed a little bit about Chandler. They intercepted Mikey Keene. They were also able to snuff out a fake punt, which was key. They kept it close. They had a chance to win. But again, until you slay the giant is still the giant in Chandler.
So for Hamilton, it will be interesting to see which starting quarterback they go with. Will it be Nico Marchio? Will his shoulder be healed by then? Or will it be Rock Chalowski? Rock did lead them against South Point Catholic, so he did lead them to victory the last 2 weeks. So for the Open Championship, quarterback is up in the air. Guys, let's move it over to 6A Championship. Highland and Chaparral. Eric, let's start with you for this one.
Well, Sandy, you and I were at the Boulder Creek Highland game in Anthem last week, and I just now got feeling back in my toes. It was one of the coldest games I've ever attended, but also one of the most memorable. Again, I'm going to shed some light on the losing team. This time it's Boulder Creek. Unbelievable job by the Jags. Great scheme. You know what? We're just going to take the ball, and we're not going to give it to Highland's offense. That was the plan the entire game. I overheard one of the Highland defensive coaches in the third quarter saying that BC ran 44 plays. 41 of them were run plays midway through the quarter. That is called controlling the tempo and controlling the clock. But in the end, Max Davis, this guy is unbelievable. He is the bell cow on that final drive, Sandy, as you know. He got things clicking. And in the end, Highland had just enough defense to keep BC out of the end zone.
Yeah, Tony Casarella doing a fantastic job over there, fifth-year head coach. Really incredible job. He did tell me before that game he wanted to control the line of scrimmage and the tempo, game tempo, and both of those he did. So I applaud that team. I know they're disappointed. They wanted to go all the way, but you guys, in a COVID era, getting this far, it was such a great job. We applaud you. And going up against Highland is no easy feat, and they stayed neck and neck. Devin, what do you got?
Obviously, Boulder Creek has had a phenomenal year, and when you have athletes like the Jaguars did, I mean, this was just a phenomenal game and a great season for them, but I don't think that the algorithm figured out exactly how you should rank Highland and Chaparral, because, I mean, a 4 and a 7, man, I don't think they were seeded correctly, but nonetheless, they got here the same way. So I think that this was the two best teams in the 6A conference.
And I think one thing that we should recognize with Chaparral is the Firebirds. I saw them earlier in the year. They lost a close game to Centennial. But once they took out Queen Creek, as dominating as they were in the first round of the 6A playoffs, I kind of had a hunch that they would end up playing Highland in the championship.
And for them to miss their first 3 games and now be in the championship, what a fantastic storyline. Really excited to see Brayton Silbor. I have yet to see him play in person, so very excited for that one. Okay, 5A, and I know that I am so partial. Ironwood, Will Haskell, Westside Willie, like Just Chili calls him. Really excited for this one. You know what, Devin, we're going to start with you since that is over. Ironwood over on the west by you. Let's start with you.
Well, it's going to be Ironwood versus Sunrise, and I was actually able to see both of these teams on Friday night, and the key to both Ironwood and Sunrise Mountain are these offenses are rolling at the right time. And you talk about Willie Haskell over there at Ironwood, the San Diego State commit. He's been phenomenal the past 2 years, but the biggest problem for Ironwood was the productivity around the rest of the team. This year is a different story. The other, 21 players, offense and defense, have stepped up. I especially look at a guy like Elijah Sanders, this senior, almost 500 yards receiving. He rushes the ball as well. If Will Haskell is scrambling out of the pocket, it seems like Sanders is the first guy that he looks at. And Sunrise Mountain is the same way. This is a team who flipped quarterbacks in the middle of the season, but a constant has been Tommy Arnold. He has been absolutely fantastic this year, both rushing the ball and even on defense too. Both of these offenses are rolling really well. This is a rematch from earlier this year, a 20-11 game. I am excited for this 5A rematch.
And I also think it's cool, guys. This is why I think the Open makes a lot of sense, because besides the Open 8, we get to see teams like Sunrise Mountain and Ironwood have a chance to compete for championships at high level, where in the old system we probably wouldn't.
That's a great point. Really excited for that matchup. I've seen both of those teams this year. Very talented. I was worried about Ironwood only leaning on Will all year long. So to see those weapons step up around him, fantastic. 4A, you guys, really excited about this matchup. I love both of these teams, both of these quarterbacks. Mesquite versus Cactus. Eric, let's start with you.
Ty Thompson's curtain call. This is it before he leaves for Oregon. And last year in the 4A semifinals, Mesquite and Cactus played a classic. Mesquite came out on top 28-27. Then they went on to beat Desert Edge to get that state championship. I love the scheme this year because you've got Ty Thompson and those skill players going up against a Cactus defense. Outside of that week 1 loss to Sunrise Mountain, they haven't allowed more than 19 points in a game since all the way back in the early fall. So this is going to be a really good game. Both teams come in riding 7-game win streaks. Highland High School is going to be the place to be this week.
And for Cactus, the story has been sophomores on offense, but a name that has joined this roster a little bit later in the season, Aki Pulu, is a name to remember. Pick 6 versus Coconino. He's been in the end zone every single game so far this playoffs multiple times. This junior has been absolutely phenomenal adding to this roster, and I think that he might be a huge difference maker in this state championship game.
Excited to see Cactus. I did see their first game when they lost to Sunrise Mountain, you guys, and I was so worried. I know that they were playing up, but to see Will Galvan now lead this team, very excited because I was worried because he's playing both sides of the ball, and I thought that was going to be too much for him this year. But Mesquite, Cactus on Friday, it's going to be exciting. Well, you guys, this was another edition of AZ Audibles. As always, Eric Sorensen, Devin Henry. For more AZ Audibles, head to sports360az.com.